And we are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to an edition of Skip Happens. A little bit different than what you're probably used to. Skip Happens. But you can tell by the music it's going to be a little bit different. Remember that from Top Gun? Well, there's a reason that I'm playing that. I have a couple of gentlemen on with me tonight, and I call them heroes. I call them friends, and we've got Yogi. Mark and Yogi. He went by Yogi. Was that a name that you picked up from your crew, or?
No, you get your call signs in the Air Force from doing something stupid.
Well, we're off and running.
So I tried to turn it into Yogi, smarter than the average bearer. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's good. It's Yogi, and the reason we have Yogi on tonight, it was 30 years ago, Desert Storm. Not exactly this day, but close to it. 30 years ago, he led the first mission into the war zone by air. Yogi was a F-15E pilot. You were a commander, a lieutenant colonel with the Air Force. Is that correct?
I was actually a captain during Desert Storm.
Okay.
I retired as a lieutenant colonel.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Tell us about leading that first squadron into the war zone, and that was actually the start of the war. You were the first one to do that, correct?
Pretty close. There were some F-117s that had a TOT 5 minutes before ours, but those are the stealth airplanes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Of course, they're out there by themselves and going to different targets and that kind of stuff. But my 22 ship was the first conventional flight that crossed the border on that night. Mm-hmm. It all kind of started out. We deployed over there in August. Spent about 4 months in Thumraid, Oman before we moved up to Al-Khar, Saudi Arabia, which is now Prince Sultan Air Base. Mm-hmm. And in that period of time, I was part of the planning team that put the plan together for Desert Storm.
Oh, wow.
There were 10 or 12 of us in that team, captains to lieutenant colonels, and a group of intelligence folks, maybe 6 of them or so, that I'd go up to Riyadh for 3 or 4 days, then go back down and fly for 5 or 6 days, and go up there and plan for 3 or 4 days. So we put the first 3 nights of the Desert Storm plan together. Of course, then when we figured out that the timing was going to work to kick it all off, I went back down to the squadron where I belonged, and ended up flying 42 combat missions in 38 nights.
Wow. So you knew ahead of time that you were going to be leading the group. You were going to be
yes, and that's kind of a strange story, and I'll try to keep it very short.
Oh, it's okay, we got all right.
You would normally think that the squadron commander would be leading the first flight out on the first night, mm-hmm. But we had a squadron commander change on Halloween. And so when that happened, the new squadron commander, who's a great friend of mine, has been for years and was for years before that, he stepped in, and I took him back to brief him on this whole plan for the first 3 nights. And I told him, I said, well, you'll be leading this 22 ship. And he goes, oh, no. You've been planning this thing for 4 months. Put me back at number 7. So he was actually in the flight, but he was just like number 7 out of 22. So yeah, it's, for a captain at that point in time to be taking a 24 ship out was pretty phenomenal. We took off with 24 of us, went to a tanker track with 7 tankers. Mm-hmm. And we did what we called tobogganing with the tankers, where they started at about 25,000 feet. And by the time we got off of them, got all of our fuel, we were down at a couple thousand feet off the ground with 7 tankers and 22 fighters.
Oh my God.
Bouncing around at 2,000 feet, taking gas off the tankers.
That's crazy. 2,000 feet off the ground.
At about 2:40 in the morning.
Oh my God. But there was nothing out there, though, just desert, correct?
Pretty much. Yeah, we had planned all that to make sure there weren't any towers, and 2,000 feet, you can be above virtually everything. There's no mountains in Iraq and northern Saudi Arabia, so didn't have any rocks or mountains or anything to worry about. But and we did that to stay under the early warning radar coverage.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, yeah.
And so I got off the tanker. We reformed our 22 ship up to head north, and about 20 miles in front of me, 2 helicopters popped up and blew up a little guard shack on the border. That was part of the plan, but it's nice to see that the whole plan was working.
Yes.
So like, again, it's like 2:40 in the morning. We're from 100 to 300 feet off the ground at this point, and doing about 610 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
So we went up, crossed the border, and once we crossed the border, there were 3 ships that went. My 3 ship went the furthest. We were just west of Baghdad. Another 3 ship just about 40 miles south of where I was. A 6 ship with the squadron commander in it went over to what a place called H2 Airfield,
Mm-hmm.
and actually dropped bombs on the airfield. And then there were 2 more 3 ships and another 4 ship that went to various targets farther down the south part of Iraq. So it's very interesting. We kind of split and went different directions and went to all of our targets. And it's 3 in the morning in the middle of the desert. It's darker than inside of your ear. There's not a light anywhere. It's not like the United States where you look out and everywhere you look, there's lights on somewhere. You can look for 100 miles and not see a light.
Just black.
So we do all that, and obviously all this time we're worried about people hearing that we're coming and shooting at us and all that kind of stuff. And surprisingly, we got clear to the targets before anybody responded to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think they either had all their gun emplacements manned or something, because as soon as my bombs hit the ground on my target, nighttime turned into daytime. It was light enough that I rolled this airplane up to 80 degrees of bank and pulled 7 Gs off the target, looking at the desert outside the cockpit at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
A couple of SA-3s shot over the top of the airplane. Those tracers that you saw in the TV stuff, each one of those is every 7th bullet.
Wow. I can't.
In between each one of those green spots, there's 7 more pieces of lead coming through there.
Really? Because you could see the green on the television screen. That's what I was watching, or I've seen it.
Yeah.
You can hear the jets, but you can't see them. But you can see all the tracers and all that going up. I can't believe you had 24, and everybody came back without a scratch.
Yeah, 22 airplanes in my flight that night, not a scratch on any of them that night. A side story, funny one. After I got home, after that was all done,
you changed your underwear.
That's probably true too. But
go ahead. Sorry.
I ended up moving to Las Vegas, Nevada, to Nellis Air Force Base about 4 weeks after I got home from there to start the U.S. Air Force Weapons School for Strike Eagles. And I'm out there one night flying, and we come back in and do an instrument landing back into Nellis, and I get shot just north of Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Nevada. We park the airplane. I do a walk around, look up, and there's about a 9mm size hole in the tail of my airplane.
On our homeland?
Yeah. Well, there's desert space out north of the airport and north of the airbase, and some bunch of goomballs was out there shooting guns at beer cans or whatever. And one of them thought, I'll just see if I can hit this airplane. So I'm sure he's probably pointing at the nose of the airplane and hit the tail, because I'm still doing like 210 miles an hour. So,
oh my gosh!
But it was interesting after 42 nights up there in Desert Storm, not getting hit by anything, and then I get shot in Las Vegas. So,
who would have thought? I guess anything could happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rolling into Desert Storm like that, the element of surprise, they had no idea that you guys were coming. At 2,000 feet, you were under the radar. You were actually fueling up at 2,000 feet as well from the tanker, or no?
Yes, that's correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch aircraft. I don't know it like both of you, but I use it as a hobby, and I watch what's going on. And I think that's when I met Dave and you, because I'm such a geek, and I loved it. But we here in Syracuse, where I am, they do a lot of touch and goes. I think they come from one of the neighboring bases. They might even come out of New Jersey, but we have the tankers that come in, they do touch and goes, and they do it during the night. And I live a mile from the airport.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And I see the size of these planes, and I can't even imagine that they're flying at 2,000 feet, or give or take a little bit, refueling jets like what you guys were flying. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah,
it's kind of nuts. It's a 707 airframe that the KC-135 is built on. When it gets down that low, it kind of flops like a bird. I mean, the wings are bouncing, and you're underneath that boom trying to keep this airplane attached to that boom. Is actually a pretty healthy workout.
I was going to ask, how hard is that? I watch videos of the refueling, and it's like everything's got to be just perfect, and just put that nozzle into that, the hole in the front of the plane or whatever you guys call it.
Yeah, once you get that nozzle connected up, you've only got about a 3-foot basket.
That's crazy
to keep from tearing the nozzle off the 135. So it's you got to be able to hold the airplane pretty still.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And you obviously do a very good job at that, or did. Rolling into where you were dropping your bombs and all that, and everybody started shooting. Can I just where was your frame of mind? You just knew you had a mission to do, or what was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, the biggest thing was we practice all that stuff just like all the military do. You practice till you're tired of practicing, and training takes place. I mean, I've been flying fighters for 10 years by that point, so it wasn't like a new guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing for me was being the leader of 22 airplanes. I almost don't have time to think about my airplane. Because I need to make sure that the other 21 are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We don't run into each other when nobody runs out of gas before they get back to the tanker and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm watching that stuff. Immediately, I'm just concerned about my 3-ship going across that target, because once my bombs hit and the world lit up, now I'm scared to death that number 2 and number 3 are going to
it's behind you,
get shot by a bunch of stuff, because they're still coming into the target.
Sure, so and you've already hit the target.
Those two guys are what I'm watching going over my airplane as I'm leaving. They're watching that go over the airplane as they're going to the target.
Wow! So
it's entirely different mindset for them. You if there's ever a time you want to turn around and go home, that's probably it.
So if you wanted to be anywhere in a formation, you guys going in, you want to be the lead man, because
pretty much
you don't want to be the guy at the other end. Because that guy at the other end is going to be like, okay, he's going to get the brunt of the whatever they're shooting back.
Yeah, if you're number 8 back there, you're in the deep end of it. So yeah, we come off the target, and I'm worried about getting all my guys back together. And we had briefed a plan to get these 22 airplanes back out of the country without running into each other. And of course, we've got every light off in the airplane, so you're out there in the middle of the night in an airplane that's painted almost black. And what I briefed everybody was to flip their lights on when they got to the Saudi border first, and then look around and start trying to figure out where everybody was, and get rejoined to go back to the tankers. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we come off, and like the squadron commander, who's number 7, we planned a fly up to a 20-degree dive bomb pass for his 6th ship on H2 airfield. And when he flies up and rolls in to drop his bombs, the runway lights and the approach rabbits, all that stuff are still on. So, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. Like, okay, do you all not know we're coming? It's like they're ready for a 737 to land, and they're getting 6 Strike Eagles dropping 48 bombs on them or something, So
yeah, the technology in the jet, in the aircraft itself, would let you know if there was any mountainous terrain, which there wasn't. It was mostly desert. I don't think there'd be anything else out there, but you would know, even though you're flying in the darkness of night. I mean, you probably can't see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark.
Well, and this airplane was
how fast?
This airplane was brand new. We started flying the airplane in '89, and had just gotten back to Seymour Johnson in February of '90, when we deployed in August of '90. So when we deployed, the airplane was only qualified to drop 500-pound dumb bombs. Mm-hmm. So the whole time I'm in Thumb Raid, Oman, and Saudi Arabia before the war started, I'm talking to the guys back at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, mm-hmm. approval to drop the weapons that we have over in the desert.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we're actually almost like certifying the airplane on the go. Mm-hmm. The airplane, we had lantern pods. It's the name of the system on the airplane is called lantern pods. There's a navigation pod that has a terrain following radar in it, okay. And then a targeting pod that guides laser guided bombs, TV guided bombs, all that kind of stuff. So all the planes had the navigation pod on them. So when we were up there that first night, we actually have terrain following radar to keep us from running into a tower. And there are some big towers in Western Iraq. I mean, some of them 400 and 500 feet tall.
Oh wow!
Which is get your attention when you're running around at 100 feet. So, and the terrain following radar, and then in the HUD, this airplane's got a 28-degree field of view HUD in it. So I get a daytime picture out of that HUD out of the front of the airplane.
I was going to ask how that worked. So, would those be like what we would see on the news when they show a bombing of a certain location? You can actually see it, like it's like a night camera.
Yeah,
and you can watch it go down, and it gets smaller and smaller, and then boom,
yeah,
then you've got your target.
yeah. That would be the view out of the targeting pod.
Gotcha.
And so we got targeting pods after we got over there, and so we had them on about half of our airplanes by the time the war started. And so we were actually able to convert to dropping some laser guided stuff fairly quickly after January 17th.
Oh wow. Cool. And Dave Harmon is with us here tonight as well. They are both, well, Dave is still a commercial airline pilot. We'll leave it at that, but he spent some time in the Air Force. Tell us a little bit about what you did, Dave, back in the Air Force days.
So in the Air Force, I spent 7 years in the Air Force, and I was a T-38 instructor the whole time I was in. Basically, it's a high-performance airplane. We're teaching guys to move on to the next aircraft that, like Mark was flying, going on to an F-15 or F-16, something like that.
Oh, very cool. So were you over in the Middle East at all or anything like that? Or were you
No,
basically
it was all the training was done stateside. I spent
very
some
cool.
time at Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma and down at Randolph Air Force Base in Texas.
We got to tell everybody how we're not strangers, we're friends. And
we are friends.
we are friends. We're all laughing about this, but because me being in the country music field and at country radio, every year, a couple times a year, we go to Nashville and we have our meetings. And it just so happened it was at the Renaissance Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, the conference. They hold it there almost. Well, now they don't. The hotel's gone, but we do go to the Omni. But so after a few glasses of wine, I was hanging out with some people that were there with me, and we were hanging out with all these country artists and just doing our thing, having fun, being obnoxious, being crazy. And I see this airline crew come walking in with their little wheelie bags behind them. And they come over to the elevator, and you guys were waiting for the elevator, and it was just people going in and out, in and out. And I think I turned to Dave and I said, "Hey, Captain, how are you?" Because I saw your stripes, so I already know that's a captain. I was just being like crazy, and then we struck up a conversation, and come to find out that Dave actually has a relative here in Central New York. Did you grow up in Utica, or was it?
I actually grew up in Rome till I was 10, and then my brother lives in Cicero. He lives right there on the lake.
So that kind of, it's like, are you kidding me? So then I think you said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, this is a radio convention for country music, and anybody is here. And do you guys want to go meet some of these guys? You want to go hang out a little bit later?" And I said, "We'll get you all hooked up." So we did.
Yeah, because I think it was kind of like, what are you guys doing for dinner? And we're like, nothing.
Do I hear free meal?
we figured we wouldn't get up the elevator before dinner was done. So
anyways, and that's how it all started, and the friendship started. And I've always told Dave that if you're in the area, just look me up, and I'd love to get together and have a cold one and hang out and just get caught up. Or I was in Phoenix because we do the baseball thing quite often. Spring training, and of course that didn't work out, but we chatted on the phone. And then with Mark, I mean, it was a pleasure meeting you. Of course, what was the name tag you had? Remember, we got you a name tag.
Yeah, I'll let Dave tell that story.
Yeah, the name tag, it was a woman's name. It was Kristen, and I can't remember the last name, but we decided to go with Christian. That's what we were calling him that night, is Christian.
I told Mark, just keep your hand over it. Just keep your arm over the name.
Right.
Nobody's gonna know. So we had a good time that night, and that's how we got to know each other. And then most recently, I was reading the article that was in the Tulsa newspaper or magazine. I'm not sure if it's a newspaper or magazine. And I went, "Oh my God, I had no idea that Mark had led the first strike that actually kicked off Desert Storm. So I said, dude, I need to talk to you. Let's get caught up. I'd love to have you on my podcast. And that's where we are tonight. And you're both awesome because you're both, I know you said you just retired from the airline. Dave is still flying. I do have a question for you, Dave. Have you flown the MAX 8 when it was fun?
I have flown the MAX 8. It's a beautiful airplane. I can't wait to have it back.
Exactly.
Really? Was that, I saw pictures online. I think you might have had your family with you.
I did. Yeah, we went up and we actually had the privilege of going to pick up a brand new one at Boeing Field and fly it back to Phoenix. And it was great. It's a phenomenal airplane. I'd put my wife and kids on it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a great airplane. I can't wait to get it back. And it's a lot of fun to fly.
Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to fly it in a minute.
Oh, hang on. I want to lose you here. Did I lose you? You guys there? Oh, no.
Yeah, we're here.
Yep.
Yeah. My computer just did something weird. Came up Christian.
Christian.
I don't know. I love it. But that's how we met, and that's the story. And he did fly the MAX 8, which I thought so because I saw the pictures on Facebook, and it just looks so very cool. And being able to have your family with you, that is really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I do want to go back to the Nashville story because I have to say, and I do think Mark would agree with this. Of all the overnights that we've had throughout our airline career, and I told Skip that night at the end of the night, meeting Skip and his people in Nashville and the hospitality that they so graciously, gave to us was unbelievable. And I told Skip at the end of the night, by far, that was the best overnight I've had in my entire airline career. Awesome. And it wasn't just about the free dinner either, Skip.
No, I get it. We had a lot of fun.
He took us down to that the big convention center where all the country music stars were gathered, and we got to meet them. We got to meet and greet, handshake, talk with them on a one-on-one basis, and we just thought that was awesome in itself. And then the next thing you know, they announce over the PA system, "Hey, will everybody move on to this end of the convention center for the concert to start?" And Mark and I are looking at it like, concert to start? What? And so we go sit at this.
Not only do we get a free dinner, we get a concert.
I know, we get a concert too. And we went up and sat in these chairs that were like 50 feet from the stage. And we watched every country music star come out and play like a set of three. And it was better than being at the CMAs in the front row. It really was, because there was a small group of people in the audience and we were just in awe. I mean, Mark and I kept looking at each other, pinching ourselves like, are we really here seeing this? Brad Paisley was coming out. I mean, you name it. Everybody, Florida Georgia Line, Lady A, all of them. And I at the end of the night, I could not thank Skip enough for how gracious he was and the hospitality he showed us that night. It was fantastic, Skip.
I love what you guys do. And, right back at you, because it's just, you're great people. And it just happened to fall into place. I think God probably put you there for a reason, for us to meet and, hang out. You know what I was worried about? What time did they got to get up in the morning to catch that flight? I think you were going to Kennedy or you had to, I'm going, oh my God. It's going to be my fault.
Everything we did was legal.
I know.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, I know that was. You guys were very good about that. Because it got to be late and I'm going, God, they probably got to get in and do their flight plans, and they have to, I think he said he was going to, I think it was Kennedy the next day or something, or JFK or LaGuardia.
We ended up spending the next night in Greenville,
North Carolina or somewhere.
Yeah, Greenville, Spartanburg.
Yeah, Greenville,
Raleigh. Yeah, one of the two.
It was Greenville, Spartanburg. This night's not going to be like last night.
Yeah, because we went to the second overnight. I told Mark, I said, "Hey, I was the recreation director for the first night. You've got the second night now."
It was a good time, and I've met a couple of, call you both heroes, and it's very cool what you do, and I love hearing about the stories about the F-15E. Is that plane hard to fly?
No, actually, it's relatively easy. I mean,
it sounds like a dumb question.
A lot of stuff, and it takes a few hundred hours to where you can actually get pretty good at it. Mm-hmm. I mean, unlike what we fly in the 737, where there's a couple of switches on the yoke and most of the rest of the stuff you do with the keyboard off to the side. Mm-hmm. The Strike Eagle has, I think it's 7 buttons on the throttle and 6 or 7 on the throttles. and all of them do something different depending on what mode you're in the airplane, whether it's
Right.
air-to-air mode or air-to-ground mode or instrument mode. So it takes you a while to be able to make your fingers do the right thing at the right time.
Were you worried about any like air-to-air combat?
Well, actually, in that first night, we had a MiG-29 and a MiG-23 in the middle of my formation going out of the country.
Oh, wow.
That both of them ended up getting shot down by our regular Eagle guys that came in behind us. After we got up to the targets, the timing for all this was so that the rest of the war would push. And so the Eagles who are sitting back there, 100 miles back at 30,000 feet or whatever, when that timing happens, they turn around, head north, and they're probably doing 1.6 Mach or something, trying to get up in the country.
So those, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the first group in, you're doing your job, but you've got another set that are way behind you and much at 30,000 feet, ready to come in and cover anything that should be happening.
Yeah, those were the air-to-air Eagles, not the air-to-ground strike Eagles.
Okay, so there is a difference. I didn't know that.
Different airplane. Of course, at the same time, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 F-16s coming into the country about that time too, all across the border from Kuwait out to Western Iraq. So
I had a buddy of mine. He was an F-16 pilot. He was with the Guard, and they got called up and right here out of Syracuse, and he was over there.
They were at the same base that I was at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Alred. Yeah,
174th here in Syracuse. Now we have the drones, but he flew an F-16 and he got called up. He was over there. He was sending pictures back and stuff. It was pretty cool. I'd watch for him.
We kind of made fun of them because they could take a 24 ship out and carry 48 CBU-87s, and my 4 ship carried that many.
All right, Mark. Sorry.
No competition whatsoever.
F-15E. Go ahead. No, but y'all did a great job, and you're heroes for doing that. And I wouldn't even know what to think. But you're probably in such a mindset. You've got that mission to do. You don't even think about what's going on around you. You just know that you've got a target to hit. You're going to hit it, and you're going to get the hell out of there.
I mean, your training kicks in just like you plan on for 10 years. That your training will take over. You'll do what you need to do and keep everybody alive and go home, because there's going to be another mission in 18 hours. And in fact, on some nights I'd land and refuel the airplane and load bombs back on it and go right back out.
Was it always the same plane for you? You had your own plane?
No. The scheduling of airplanes is not that pure in the military.
Not like Top Gun?
No. There's a lot of things in the military that's not like Top Gun. So,
but
no way.
Let's talk about Top Gun. How realistic is that to what you have done? Either one of you.
I'll let you feel that, Mark. Good luck.
Mark said night. You went right?
I will tell you, I enjoyed the movie immensely. I mean, the attitude, the arrogance, the confidence, that stuff's real. I mean, we train that into guys, because if you're going to take a $60 million airplane out there and let 100 people shoot at you, you better be arrogant. You better be confident. You better be pretty good. So that part of it I enjoyed, so to speak. Now, I mean, the vast majority of fighter pilots out there are married guys with families that don't go play beach volleyball after they're done with work. So some of that part of it was a little different, and some of the flying was actually geared toward making a movie look good. I'll put it that way.
Totally. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But you're running around in airplanes doing 500 and 600 miles an hour. That aspect of the movie was actually pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say when they show the scenes where they have the head-on closure rate, that closure rate is accurate. I mean, those planes are going by you. We're doing 500. They're doing 500. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. And that's slow for those jets. What's the top speed of the Falcon 15E?
The Strike Eagle will do about 1.7 Mach in the right conditions. Normally to do that, you've got to be up in the 40,000 foot range, which we don't fly it up there very often. At low altitude, it's very common to be at 540 to 570 knots, which is about 600 to 630 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you went over, you were married, right, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And your family knew what you were getting into. Your family, obviously, they support you. We all supported you. It had to be so hard on them just knowing that you were leading the squadron, and then you flew 40 some odd other missions after that. How often did you call home, and how often were you able to reassure everybody that you were okay?
Well, believe it or not, in 91 time frame, we were still writing more letters than we were calling home.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like today. You couldn't just walk into the MWR tent and grab a cell phone and call back to the States.
Right,
right. I think that's outstanding that the guys today can do that kind of stuff, because, my wife and family might not hear from me for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And that whole time they're doing that, they're just kind of going, okay, we're assuming everything's good.
Well, no news could be good news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to guess that I probably called home once every 3 to 4 weeks, and you get about a 5 or 10 minute phone call, and most of that was, just trying to put out brush fires at home if there was one.
Sure.
But my wife, her father was retired Air Force, so she kind of had a little bit of an idea. I mean, he retired shortly after she was born, so I mean, he was in the Guard for his last 6 or 7 years. He probably retired when she was 12 or something like that, but they've been in the Tulsa Guard for a while. So he didn't live the life of moving and roaming and TDYs and all that kind of stuff. And so, she was prepped. I mean, our first 3 years in the Air Force was in Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so 3 times a year, I'd go to Spain for a month, because we had to go down there to drop all of our bombs, because the weather was good in Spain when it normally wasn't good in Germany. Mm-hmm. And the ranges in Germany are we call them postage stamps. Okay. If you go out there and you drop a bomb somewhere that's not where you want it, it might be falling in some village out there in Germany.
Yeah.
So that creates all kinds of international incidences if you do that. So we'd just pack up the squadron and go down to Zaragoza 3 times a year. And since I was an instructor pilot, I was on all those trips.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I was always teaching the other guys how to do whatever they needed to do. So she kind of got used to me being gone routinely. Of course, then the natural transition to the Southwest Airlines was not a big deal, because, hey, the good news is you're only gone for 3 or 4 nights at a time.
And you get to go to Nashville.
Instead of 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. So,
yeah. No, I get you.
So military wives, they earn their crowns over a 20-year career.
Absolutely.
Of dealing with stuff. I mean, I told you I went to Nellis about 4 weeks after I got back from being gone for 10 plus months. And because that job had to start, I thought the job was gone. I talked to the squadron commander after I got back. He actually called me after I got home from Desert Storm, said, hey, do you still want this job? Because we had talked about it 15 months earlier before I deployed, about me moving to Las Vegas to help start this weapons school class for the Strike Eagle. And so when we deployed, I thought, oh, it's gone. I mean, they'll have to hire somebody else, because I won't be there in time for the thing to start. And so I get home, and about 2 weeks after I get home, he calls me from Vegas and goes, hey, do you still want this job? I said,
wow.
I assumed that you'd hired somebody else. He goes, no, I got a desk for you if you want it, but you got to be out here in 2 weeks. So after being gone for 10 months, I'm home for 4 weeks, and then I'm gone for 3 more months to go to Nellis. And I did come home to put the kids in the car and drive across the country. But my wife, after me being gone all that time, basically packed up our household goods and had movers and took care of all that stuff by herself. So, I've said it a number of times. Those of us that are out flying the airplanes and having fun, so to speak, we got the better end of the deal. A lot of the wives ended up doing all kinds of taking care of kids, and there's times when your kid falls and breaks an arm, and you're nowhere near anywhere to be any help.
And our wives got really good at moving.
Yeah.
They were moving.
Yeah. I haven't done what you guys have done, and my wife's really good at moving. So
Yeah.
I come home now because she's working from home and things are changed around. It's like, okay, you need to go back to the office. But
We counted up one time. We actually moved, I think it was 14 times in
oh my
20 years or something like that. So,
well, that's not uncommon though if you're in the military at all. Whether
no.
it doesn't matter what branch you're in.
So it's funny. I went to work for Southwest Airlines, and after a few years, we moved back to Oklahoma to help take care of parents and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
About the third year, we're in this house that we're still in now for 16 or 17 years now. After about 3 years, we're both looking at each other like we should be packing stuff up. It's time to move again.
I talked to an artist just a few weeks ago who's you're in Owasso?
Yes.
Owasso? Yeah, and she is there, and it's Garth Brooks' daughter. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well, Garth and I were neighbors until he moved back to Nashville. His place is about 3 miles across the creek over there.
Awesome.
There's another rising star here, Gracie. She was on The Voice last year. I can't remember her last name now.
Yeah, I am. Did I disappear?
Yeah, it says something.
I know this. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Stand by.
EOS webcam utility beta.
All right, I can read. Hang on. Losing altitude.
Get it together.
I am. I'm trying. I'll go to this other camera. So there you go. Now I'm on the other camera. So
there we go.
There you go.
All right. So I'm back. So there we go. This is actually, I have a couple of different webcams. I got a pretty cool studio. So I got cameras and television monitors and all that crap around. All good stuff. Let me ask you both a quick question. With your Air Force experience and everything that you both have done, from being the fighter pilot to being a trainer, instructor, how does that prepare you for a career? Being you're both captains. Well, Mark is retired, but Dave, you're doing that. How did that prepare you for that job of being a commercial airline pilot?
Well, coming from the Air Force, I would say Mark and I, we received outstanding training through the Air Force. It's top-notch training. I can't say enough about it. But to translate that to commercial airline flying, it's not an easy, translation over to that. Mark and I were brought up, flying fast, flying low, flying formation, pulling G's, all that stuff. And now when you get to the airline business, when I first came to the commercial airline business, I had to remember that there were 100+ people on the back end of this airplane, and I had to make the temperature comfortable for them, right? Because we were worried about ourselves, and that was it. And now our main focus is on being smooth. Everything's smooth. A smooth climb, a smooth descent, finding smooth air, a smooth landing. Everything was smooth. And so I actually think the guys who go through a civilian upbringing and they come through a commuter carrier, a regional carrier, and then go on to a major carrier, I think the transition may be a little easier for them. For Mark and I, we were a little bit of fish out of water when we first came to the commercial airline business, just because of the difference in the type of flying. But as far as the hands-on skills, I would say anybody coming out of the military, they certainly have very capable stick and rudder skills. Now it's a matter of learning the commercial airline techniques and right. What it is to be a commercial airline pilot and the emphasis items. And I think Mark would agree with that.
Yeah.
A little less on the arrogance, a little less, you got to be more.
Yeah. A whole lot more concern about who you're flying with.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you what, one of the big differences too is, you're coming from the United States military, which is probably, I'll say it like this: you're going from one of the most nonprofit organizations to a commercial airline business that's very worried about the bottom line to a very profit-oriented business. And so everything is about the bottom line. It's fuel savings. It's get the shortcut. It's fly at max range on the aircraft, so you maximize your fuel usage. So that was a huge difference then from the Air Force, because the Air Force is like, go push it up, burn the gas, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. Now you're like with the big corporation, and you got to look out for everything and watch everything. And Dave, while you're chatting here, how does with all this pandemic and the flying, You still doing what you do and what you love. I mean, how has that affected what you do? Has it at all, being a captain?
Yeah, it's affected it tremendously. You see it on the news every day. All the carriers have really been affected in a very dramatic fashion.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of cuts in the daily flights that all carriers have experienced is truly unprecedented. And I know that word is way overused, but it truly is unprecedented. We're all just trying to make it. We have a department though that is doing a great job of managing how many flights a day that we do operate. That flights per day number changes weekly, because you might have a week where we start to have a little bit of a recovery. Prior to this, second spike here, we had a little bit of a recovery going. So we were adding flights in and extra segments in, and things were looking up. And then all of a sudden the spike happens, and you got to be ultra flexible. And so the companies started pulling back on flights. And so really it's a matter of being extremely flexible in our scheduling. And that's the only way you can manage any sort of the revenue side of it. And obviously all the carriers are bleeding money. It's just how slow. We're just trying to bleed as slowly as possible. But we're hoping for, bluer skies down the road. We're hoping that when a vaccine comes and it gets widespread, that people will come back to flying. I think in general, I think people are ready and anxious to go on a trip somewhere. So I think once we get the pandemic under control, I think people will come back and we'll be ready for them.
Yeah. You don't want me on your plane. I know the pilot. I know him. Hey, I'm 16C. Tell him Skip's in 16C. I don't know a Skip. I don't know who that guy is. I have no idea. Get him off this plane. I have no idea who he is. No, I'm just kidding with it.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I decided to take the early retirement stuff. Mm-hmm. It's because it's changed so much just in the last 6 months. I mean, my last flight was the 18th of March. And I was in D.C. that night before I ended up back in Tulsa on the 18th. And, you get off the airplane and you go out to a van that's got more people on it than you know what to do with, and you have no idea where they've been. Even the driver of the van who's helping you with your suitcases and stuff,
you don't know.
No control over any of that stuff. And you go to a hotel and go, I just have to trust that somebody cleaned the room the way they were supposed to, and that I'm not going to get sick just walking in and out of the hotel. And so that aspect of it was, from Dave and my days of 19, 20, 25 years ago. How long you been here, Dave? 25 or so?
27. Yep.
27. I mean, from those days back there, where it was, I have to say, 19 years ago, flying at Southwest Airlines was 99% fun and 1% work. And it's still fun. I'm not saying it's not. But this pandemic has lessened the amount of fun that you can have.
It's
complicated it.
It's complicated.
I mean, you just
everywhere.
So. We used to stand out in the jetways and joke with passengers, and just have a good time making fun of people and whatever. And they'd chime in. I mean, Southwest passengers, they chime in with you and shoot right back at you and whatever. And now you go out there, you got to stand there with a mask on, and not even sure you want to do that anymore.
Yeah. It's crazy. A buddy of mine flew for JetBlue. He turned 65 and he was forced into retirement. He's in great health. He's works out all the time. Now he's going to be flying charters for Delta, I guess. But right now, because everything's at a standstill on that end, he's pretty much off. He's hoping to go back after January. He loves it. He's single, 65 years old. He's got a ranch in San Antonio. He's loving life, but he just misses flying. So
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, Mark, Yogi, it's awesome, man. I'm so glad we reconnected. It's cool, and we follow each other on Facebook, and I know Dave's there because I see his little comments once in a while, and it's good to talk to him too. Dave, do you ever like flying to Rochester, Buffalo, or Albany?
Occasionally I get it in there, but rarely. Most of the time, if I'm flying through there, I'm flying through. I'm not overnighting in those cities. I'm moving through. But yeah, we'll definitely get together. When I get back to Cicero to see my brother there, we'll definitely get together and have an adult beverage.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'd love to meet you. My wife and I'd love to come out and have dinner with you guys sometime.
Yeah, if you get out here for spring training, please give us a call, and we'd love to have you guys up and meet you up for dinner, and it'd be great.
It would be great. It would be a lot of fun. We went because of the Cleveland Indians, and we knew one of the players that at that time was playing for the Indians. And now we're the well, I've got my Mets shirt on because we are the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets. And last year, a year ago, before the pandemic, we were the Washington Nationals. So, and we went to spring training in March. We flew from here to West Palm, and we took in the Nationals and the Mets spring training this year. And that was like the week or two before everything started to shut down. And my wife, when she got on the plane, she had her wipes. I remember she was wiping the seat down, wiping the table tray down. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. She'd wipe down the seat, and she was, but rightfully so. I totally get it. So
well, and I will tell you, Skip, I can tell you right now, and I think Mark would agree with this. Our airplanes have never been so clean. Ever.
Yeah, I was going to make the exact same comment.
We have overnight cleaning crews. We have in between flight cleaning crews. We have the people come on just like yourself, Skip. They come on and they continue to wipe it down too. So between our cleaning crews, their frequency, and the customers wiping everything down, I mean, you could probably eat off the floor on these things now.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. It's been great talking to you both. Mark, you're a hero. Dave, you're a hero. A lot of people look up to people like you, both of you being in the Air Force, and of course, Mark being the, leading that first strike, Desert Storm, and it's what got it all started. And those stories and your heroism and your bravery, both of you. I mean, I've never been in the military, but you have, and it set you up for a great career as well.
Oh, yeah.
I look up to both of you, and I'll never forget that night in Nashville.
I'll see you there.
I know. Wait, I don't know if you can get that. Oh, well, I'll have to post the picture when I post this up. I'll post the picture under it.
Okay.
Well, I got one quick one. My first night at Southwest, my very first night here, I spent the night in San Diego. We went to the All-American Bar and Grill where Top Gun was filmed. And my first night in Captain Upgrade was Nashville. So that's pretty good book. That's pretty good bookends for first night.
See, I had no clue because if I remember correctly, I knew Dave was a captain, but I don't think, did you have the 4 stripes on that night? I don't remember.
It was my first day in Captain Upgrade, so I was still wearing 3 stripes, but I was just making.
Yeah, so
it was
Mark's checkout. It was Mark's checkout program. So it was a 3-day trip where I was checking him out as a captain.
And how did the checkout go?
Well, the one thing I do remember about the check ride was we were in an 800, and we had every seat full plus 2 people in the jump seat besides the 2 of us.
Yes, I do remember that.
The guy sitting behind me was like 6'7".
Wow! So you had the 2 jump seats were full, plus you guys doing what you got to do, and you had you were flying the 800. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's a full airplane.
Yeah, no doubt.
We had fun. That was a fun 3-day
trip.
Was that the first time you guys got to know each other?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
In fact, I think I flew into Phoenix to start that trip, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Yep.
We flew out of Phoenix and back into Phoenix. Yeah.
What's that? If I may ask, I'm always full of questions. Either one of you can answer it. What is it like? You being, let's say, Dave, you're the captain, and you don't know who's going to be with you. You may see a name on a sheet of paper, but you probably have never met before. So it's like a complete stranger gets in the cockpit with you. Is that a weird feeling? Is that like, okay, we've never met?
It's really not. It's not that weird of a feeling. Because one thing I can say is I'm not going to question his ability because we are trained so well, and the training is very structured, and we run through checklists, and we have call outs, and everything is extremely structured. And so whether it's Mark, whether it's Joe, whether it's Bill sitting in my right seat, it doesn't matter. I know they're going to perform just like everyone else does because of the training they received. And that just leads to safety. I mean, it's a safety thing. And so really all you end up getting to do is get to know the guy. And now you just don't get to know his personality and You know, what's his background? Is he married? Does he have kids? You know, my standard questions are you married, dog, kids, 4-wheel drive vehicle?
There you go.
So
That's
those,
perfect. I
yeah,
fit right in, but you wouldn't want to fly with me. So.
Well, I think Southwest has done such a great job in their hiring to where they hire people that have good personalities.
Yes,
yeah.
they have
We
that.
all have the skills where we couldn't even fill out the application. So it's that hiring process to go, can I go back and talk to somebody for 45 minutes and actually enjoy the conversation? That's kind of what the hiring process was when I came in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you treat it. And just like Dave, I did the same thing. You walk in, you shake a guy's hand. How you doing? What can I do to help you? And that's how you started off. You know, real simple.
Yeah, and Mark hit the nail on the head. The interview process, we're really, you know, we know they have the skill set, or they wouldn't be in the interview at that point. They have the skill set as an aviator, but now can we sit next to them for 3 days in a cockpit? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
deodorant, change of clothes.
Right, perfect.
Does the guy have all his teeth?
Yeah.
Right. Does he know Skip? You know.
Oh, you guys are awesome. You know what? I'm going to let you go. But Mark, thank you for being who you are. Yogi, thank you for doing what you do. You're a hero and leading that. It's a great story. The article was great. Very proud to know you. I wish it could be even a little bit more. You're just a great guy. All around hero. Dave, you as well, man. I tell you, it's such a coincidence and the way everything came together. Really appreciate you guys, just coming on with me tonight, talking about the Desert Storm, talking about flying, and just being who you are. So, and I do have a 4-wheel drive, and I do have 2 dogs.
All right, good.
Got 8
Skip,
grandkids.
I just need to jump in on Mark. I have to give Mark kudos. Not only is he an Air Force war hero, Mark was a great employee at our company. He's a great captain. And now that he's retired, he's got more time to do a lot of, very well known for the amount of community service that he does. And I can't say enough about that. So Mark is an outstanding human being.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I'm hoping in retirement I'll have time to write this book I want to write about Desert Storm. So if I get it moving, I'll let you all know.
Yes, let us know, because I'd love to. If you do it, we'll come back on. We'll chat about it. We'll get it out there. We'll do what we need to do to make it known. So
sounds good.
And absolutely, Dave hit that right on the head with your community service. I've been reading about it on Facebook and what you're doing. That is really awesome, my friend. And there needs to be more people like you.
I try to keep myself busy.
Yeah, you do well. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And this was a blast.
You're a lot of fun, Skip. Thanks for having us on.
All right, stay right there a minute, guys. I'm just going to log off here. Thank you for joining us. Stay